Thanks, Jess. That's really interesting. Yeah, really, really succinct and clear summary, actually. Yeah, what I should tell the audience actually is that Jess and I have worked together on a campaign. I wrote a children's book, and Jess and I were working together, and we actually decided to stop the campaign because it was so much work, and we weren't looking to raise a huge amount of money, and at the end of the day, it was my decision to cut it off. But Jess basically made me work too hard. But I launched and self-published the book anyways in the end, and managed to get it in some shops, etc. But having said that, in hindsight, I should have really done the crowdfund, because having a larger audience would have made it a lot easier. Everybody who's in this group who sells on Amazon, Amazon doesn't give you your customers. Amazon doesn't give you your customers' emails, and we all know how valuable that is. So doing a crowdfund campaign can really add to your business overall, and in a way make you less dependent on external platforms. Any other questions that got added? Let's start with the question at the bottom first. What about the 100K? The 40% of friends and family is not really applicable. Yeah, I guess it turns out it's difficult to raise £40,000 from your friends and family.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When you're looking at raising larger amounts of money, that 40% is not necessarily coming from the friends and family. Obviously, like, the first bit of money is still coming from the friends and family, but most of that is going to come from this early bird subscriber list. So as we saw with the sunglasses campaign, sign up now to get 50% off. Again, you can then work out, okay, how many people have I got signed up? How many percentage of them are actually likely to buy on day one? Probably quite high, because they've signed up to this list. This is the cost of the product. So how much money have I raised already? Now, again, with that, you want to make sure that that's at least hitting your 40% target, or you've got, maybe a good friend or family member putting in £1,000 or £2,000 or something, because regardless, your campaign is still not going to succeed unless you hit 40% within the first week. Also, a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I can't get 40K. It's going to be impossible. I'm never going to be able to get it, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, then why are you thinking 100K is going to be easier? That's what I usually have to tell them. So again, it's thinking about, if you really want to raise 100K, do you want to put your target as 100K, or do you want to put your target only as 40K? And then just go into stretch goals and overfunding? Because, having 50K out of a 40K target within the first week means you've smashed your target within the first week, and you're now overfunding. That's a much nicer portrayal and message to put out there than we're on 50K of 100K, we're halfway there, we've still got halfway to go. Just think how you feel inside about those two different messages. Which one are you going to really appreciate hearing and want to be a part of?
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, another question just came in. Do you think you need to actually have the product made to do a crowdfund, or could it be a brand new concept and you make a video about the product?
Yeah, you need the product made. Again, if we think about how many ideas for businesses or products we've ever had in our lives versus how much time, effort, blood, sweat and tears we've put into the one which we're actually doing right now, there's a big level of discrepancy. So again, am I going to give money to someone that's just got an idea, or am I going to give money to someone that's put in the blood, sweat, tears and the extra hours to build it to how it currently is? You don't need it to be 100% accurate. You just need to have it at like the minimum prototype stage in order for people to understand that this wasn't something you woke up with in the morning, and therefore isn't something you're going to give up on tomorrow if some roadblocker comes and stops your progress. Like, if you've put years or even months of dedicated time into it, it's going to take a lot to get you to stop. If it's something you just thought of and it's only a concept, bad weather comes along and you might give up on it. And obviously, if I've already given you my money, that's not going to make me very happy. Equally, what's important about that is a crowdfunding platform such as Kickstarter won't allow any campaigns unless you've got like physical photographic evidence that exists, not just CAD drawings or animations. So that's a really important thing to think about too.
And how about intellectual property, Jes? When you are on Kickstarter or something like that and you don't have a patent, you kind of forgo the right on getting a patent because it was made public before.
If it's to patent at some point, then you should get, you should get that patent pending before you start. If not, then obviously you've allowed yourself up to open to the world. And a lot of people worry about, what if some manufacturer then just mass produces it? Now, obviously there's a potential that will happen, but at the end of the day, again, think about how long it took you to come up with this. It'll probably take them a while to copy it. And equally, that's why your story and that story structure is so important, because then you're not just a product that could be copied. You're a person, you're a brand, you're actually, something that's a story behind a product. Now, a really amazing example of this was, there's a crowdfunding documentary that was obviously crowdfunded. It's available on Google. It's called Capital C. And it follows 3 crowdfunding campaigns in America. And one of them, he makes like a cooling sleeve for beer, and he crowdfunds it. And he's just like a regular guy in some middle America in a shed style building. And he does really well on the crowdfunding campaign. And then suddenly Urban Outfitters, big corporate, basically copies his product and starts selling it. Now, you'd think that is obviously a very bad thing, but because he crowdfunded, he's now got like 3,000 plus ambassadors that basically harass Urban Outfitters Twitter feed to the extreme, to the point where they're like, whoa, okay, we're going to pull the product. And they pulled the product. And this guy obviously couldn't afford lawyers or, anything like that, but his community stood behind him and stopped an actual big corporate from copying his product. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the media love that kind of stuff as well. Yeah, so you could probably get some good articles written about it and things like that. So yeah, if you're smart about it. Okay, great. I see another question came in. Is Kickstarter a good platform for a large sum or not anymore? Looks most of the campaigns on Kickstarter offer small amounts.
Kickstarter's probably, it's still the best one out there, probably for a large sum. You don't, like Kickstarter and Indiegogo are the 2 biggest in the world. You don't have many competitors about that. Yes, there are a lot out there for small sums, because so many small businesses or solopreneurs are realizing that crowdfunding is a good way to get some of that extra money. Also, in order to make such a large sum, you need a very large team and budget behind you. It doesn't just come from like magic. And I think that a lot of people are wondering or seeing whether or not that large sum is worth it for crowdfunding campaigns, if the platform's going to take 5 and 8%, etc., or whether they could just do a normal sales campaign instead. Obviously, there's a lot to weigh up in those situations.
Okay.
Equally, sorry on that, crowdfunding campaigns now cannot raise as much as they could pre-2017, just because there have been so many crowdfunding campaigns. Like the crowdfunding campaign for an electric bike could easily raise 8 million in 2014. Now it's going to struggle to raise 750,000. And that's because, audiences already have electric bikes, or they gave to campaigns for electric bikes in the past and they never got their electric bike, and now they're annoyed and not going to give to a crowdfunding campaign for an electric bike. So your audience is not as new and excited as it was back then.
I guess it depends how much viral potential there is for your launch and your product, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if there's no other questions from the audience, I had a few questions for you prepared. Oh, there is one at the bottom. I don't have time as I do a project on the side. The story is strong. Is it possible to find agencies to team up with?
Yeah, like ours. There's a lot out there. What I would say is I would never work with a client that doesn't have time to do anything, because, you know, I'm never going to talk about your product as passionately as you are. So I'm still going to give you a lot of stuff that you need to go and say, as Yop can demonstrate. So in actual fact, if there are, agencies out there that would promise to do everything for you, I wouldn't believe them. I wouldn't believe them, and I wouldn't trust them. I'd also really take into consideration their success campaigns and ask to see their portfolio of successes and failures, and also speak to people that they've worked with, because there are quite a few big agencies out there in the UK and America, which I've done some work with, and they have a lot of very angry customers that paid a lot of money and that aren't happy with their results, which is really bad. It makes the industry not look good.
Yeah, well, you need to just be prepared to put your own bit of work in, don't you? Like, you need to be behind it. But I think there is a middle ground, though, isn't there, Jess? Because I think, you know, you have to do a lot, and if you can afford to pay somebody like yourself or an agency to help you with producing content and putting your calendars together and building your email list in advance, etc., then there is, there's capacity for that, and I think that would be helpful. But at the same time, I think the audience also probably can tell if it's an insincere campaign. So
yeah, exactly. And again, like the way that you speak and the phone calls and the webinars with you, and the personal emails from you, like we can write personal emails from you and everything. And like this other question at the bottom's just come in, I'm thinking like a ghostwriting agency for book projects. Well, yeah, like we can write all the content for you, we can do all of the strategy for you, but at the end of the day, that's your voice in the video, that's your voice on the phone call. You're just saying what I told you to say, but that's still a fair amount of your time that needs to be invested. But equally, again, if people then are asking you questions about the campaign and you don't know the answer because you've not been involved, then they're never going to trust you to give you the money.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, Jess, is it better to crowdfund in the US or in the UK? What do you think?
It really depends on where your audience is. If you've got an audience that is pretty international, then I'd go for one of the big American sites, because everyone in the world pretty much knows Kickstarter, knows Indiegogo. If you're only going to be delivering your product in the UK and your backers are only in the UK, then I would just go for a UK site, because again, small fish, big pond, or small fish, giant ocean. It's the same with crowdfunding. Your project's going to get lost. And if your project is so specific, maybe you're selling, like, I heart tooting cups, and obviously your audience is only going to really be like those people in Tooting, not even all of London, then you're not going to do that on a global platform where you just get lost in all of those bigger campaigns. Chances are for those, go to a UK platform. If they've got an office in your city, or like if anyone in their office works where you're based, again, you've got that extra help that they're going to want you to succeed because they like your project. Whereas for global projects, you don't want to be up against a huge mug manufacturer coming out of, Los Angeles. If you're just one guy in a side room in your house, you're gonna just get swallowed.
And how many of those little like crowdfund platforms are there? Are there loads, or?
Yeah, there's over 2,000, but again, only choose the major ones of your country. Only choose the major ones that your audience knows about, because otherwise they're never going to trust it to give it their credit card details.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think you may have already talked about this a little bit, but can you give examples of brands you've worked with who were really good at collecting email addresses for their crowdfund, and what did they do specifically?
Yeah, so Switch bike campaign, obviously electric bike, Vitae London campaign, which was a watch company, Golden Owl, which was sunglasses. They were really good for collecting email addresses. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head that were really amazing. What did they do specifically? Well, if they didn't use Facebook ads, Switch bike used Facebook ads, but the other ones, they knew their target market so well that they would give the target market the content that they know is going to convince them to give the email address. They'd put it on the medium that they know the target market is on at the time of day that their target market is there. They would use all of that data to basically give the best converting content in order to get the email addresses. And they would do that for probably 1 month before the campaign launches.
So it's basically companies that already have an existing website, Google Analytics data, all that kind of stuff that, you know, gives insight on their audience that they already have.
Yeah, if you're not at that stage yet, then you pretty much need to get to that stage, so that you've pretty much got to really test everything. Just try, test and experiment now, so that you've got some data to work off, so you know who you're going out to before you then go and start trying to collect their email addresses in Crowdfund. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's just scattergun approach. And for us, the biggest, you know, most important thing is getting a high return on investment, is making sure that as many things that we put out there convert as possible. So we're not going to scattergun approach and just hope and, you know, cross our fingers that it works, which is unfortunately what a lot of campaigns seem to do.
Makes sense, yeah. Okay, when a crowdfund is successful, what kind of delay for the delivery is acceptable, Jess? You mentioned anything about having babies?
Yeah, I always tell people, if I can have a baby faster than I'm going to get your book or your, you know, cooking pot or whatever, then that's just ridiculous. Like 9 months, come on. Whatever you say it's going to be, always add an extra month. So if your, you know, manufacturers and shipping and everything says 3 months, tell your customer it's going to be 4 months. You know, everyone's going to be happy if it comes early, or they're just going to be normal, but everyone's going to be grumpy if it comes late. One of my favorite things to do, because obviously crowdfunding loser right here, is to go and look at some of those really successful crowdfunding campaigns that did 100K or more, and then go onto their Facebook page and look at the comments from the posts from other people. And you will see really angry customers that didn't get their products. And that's not what you want. You want to give your audience their products and make them want to come to you again. So tell them it's going to be a bit longer, but at the same time, you don't really want it to be longer than a year. You know, again, think about it. If you're just crowdfunding a concept, it might be a year. But if you're at that point, if you're so close to putting in the sales order with your manufacturer, you've done all of that other hard work that needed to get there, you could potentially promise it for them for 4 months. And that would be amazing if they got it in 2. Also, you've got to bear in mind, people might move houses in a year, circumstances might change in a year, and then they may never get their product. And if they think it's going to be a year and they might move house or, you know, whatever, then they're not going to give you money because they'll know they're never going to get the product.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think also, you know, because a lot of us source in China, Jess, and I think, you know, there's up to sort of like 6 weeks production time usually, and then it's like 6 weeks, you know, shipping, including sort of customs clearance, etc., into the UK. You may have inspections; they may fail, so you know you may end up with issues that take a lot longer. So. If anything, may add, you know, rather than adding 1 month, I think you should almost add an extra 3 months, unless you have worked with this supplier before and there won't be any issues. But for a lot of new manufacturers that people would work with, I think you would want to probably have some extra time to fix any issues that you may occur.
But what is really good for crowdfunding backers is they're probably the most forgiving audience that you'll ever have in your life. And so actually, because you want to keep them updated once the campaign has ended till the product has been delivered in that follow-up section, every couple of months, you just want to be like, just to update you, you know, we've put the order in with the manufacturer. They just got back to me. They said they're going to be closed for 2 weeks because of some strikes. Really sorry about this. There might be a slight delay because of that. But don't worry, we'll keep you updated with the process. Here's a photo of a prototype they sent me. Can't wait to, share it with you. And because you're being honest with your audience and telling them like bureaucracy, corruption, any other issues that are out of your hand, they are forgiving. And you can do the thing where you can say, if you really want a refund, because I understand, it's 5 months late, then please just reply to this email. But so long as you're honest and apologetic about it, no one's really going to reply, because that's a lot of effort and they want the product.
Yeah. That's a good thing about having that audience. It's sort of like very sort of open to delays and the fact that it still needs to be made. And
as soon as you put the word crowdfunding in there, it seems people are fine to wait. But yeah, if it was just a general sale, everyone's like, where's my next day delivery?
Yeah. The typical Amazon crowd, slightly different. But that's another thing though, Jes, because obviously you have your crowd that you build from the crowdfund. But as the audience that we're with today is all Amazon sellers. Doing a successful crowdfund can really help you rank your products on Amazon as well, because you have a ready-made email list and you can direct traffic to Amazon. So once you've sold your products, you still have the people's emails, and you may be able to launch future products on Amazon, and you may be able to launch it directly to the top of the rankings, because that's how Amazon works. Just as it's basically it ranks you on the basis of how many sales you get. So if you can launch a new listing and immediately get 100 sales on the first day, you may be able to, and in the first week you sell 1,000 units or something like that, you may be able to launch a new product straight to the top of the rankings and then keep it there. So in that sense, having that audience is really, really powerful for an Amazon seller as well, because they can not only use their audience, but also use their audience to get more organic sales on the marketplace that you want to join. So whether that's the Amazon.com or .co.uk, that depends. But yeah, that's really attractive. Now, can you give some
equally on that point? That point, like, that is so good. And again, it works kind of similar with future crowdfunding campaigns. Your first one's always going to be the hardest because you don't really have any experience of it. But then when you launch new ones, you can go back to that original crowd. And so long as they had that good experience with you in the first campaign, even if it was delayed, but you were honest, then chances are they're going to buy whatever, slightly related product you're doing for the next campaign too.
Yeah. Well, you need to just establish yourself as a proper company, right? Once you've done the crowdfund, and follow up and be active and give good customer support, etc. Even if it's some of your friends that have bought the products, some of them may not
give the best reviews.
Well, exactly, even better, right? And I guess question that we haven't asked yet. Should people have a full picture of all the production costs? Did we discuss that already?
No, but you should have as close an idea as possible. Obviously, you're probably not going to know everything, but having like margins to go on for, parameters for each of those elements. There have been a lot of campaigns and also a lot of the really big ones where companies have just gone bankrupt because they actually couldn't deliver because they got their costings wrong.
Right. Yeah. That's a scary thought. So I'm going to do last question because we're already running quite a bit over. Michael's asking, Kickstarter had a special program because of COVID-19. I can't find info on it anymore. Do you know about it?
Yeah, so a lot of the platforms put together programs for COVID-19 where they take away their platform costs, etc. If you can't find info on it anymore, there's a potential they've stopped it. But Crowdfunder definitely still has one that's live at the moment. Alternatively, just send them over an email or ask on their social media so they have to give a public reply. And then you should be able to find it. But yeah, a lot of the platforms are removing their platform fees or providing some extra support or things like that for COVID-19 affected businesses or related campaigns. Nevertheless, still don't rush your campaign. Just because it's coronavirus getting money from people is still quite hard, and we still need to go through all of those stages, which they're not going to necessarily help you with.
Great. No, thank you very much, Jes. That's really, really fantastic. I just want to finish it here. I think if anybody has any further follow-up questions, feel free to get in touch with us.